Dear colleagues and friends of the Macau Rich Institute and the University of St. Joseph, it's really a great joy to welcome you all for this online forum. Obviously, we would prefer to be all together, but I think it's a great chance to be here together, and I would warmly welcome Dr. Veronica Saraswati from the Center for Strategic and International Studies, Jakarta from Indonesia. We're very honored that you join us. Applause to you. And researcher Dr. Bernard Lee, who is currently pursuing a PhD at the University of Oxford and is affiliated with the St. Anne's College. Thank you, Bernard, very much indeed. You're such a strong supporter of the Macau Rich Institute, and we work together. And I would also very warmly welcome my friend, Father Jojo Feng from Yolua School of Theology. Thank you so much for joining. Some of you may have listened to our talk. So what this topic of today, interrelationship of the China dream and integral ecology, is very much in line of our key research focus, is dialogue with China. And also actually more specifically, we had already 3 years ago a symposium on the Belt and Road Initiative, Idai Ilu. And it is a long-term project to reflect what is the role on China. This evening will be also very much in line the journey we go during the Ignatian year. Here in the Macau Rich Institute, we have a focus on transformation as we reflect on the transformation of St. Ignatius and Francis Xavier some 500 years ago. We reflect not only on the individual transformation, but also the transformation institutionally. These are the tough challenges. And we will start a series on the topic of dialogue with China with World Scientific Press, where we have 5 volumes already in the pipeline on, of course, Confucian ethics, Confucian entrepreneurship, and this topic of integral ecology will be very, very prominent. But now, with further ado, I will pass now to Bernard Lee, and who will then also at the end, after the presentation, guide us on the Q&A. Thank you very much. Over to you, Bernard.
Thank you so much, Father Roland. Well, I'm sorry for my Wi-Fi connectivity problem for the moment. I'm going to talk here to the audience. I hope you don't mind. To start off, I will talk about the introduction of this paper, or this conference paper, and then my teammate, Dr. Saraswati. We'll talk about the first part, which is about the BRI and China dream, and the second part will be me, and the last part will be Father Jojo Feng. Okay. Well, to start off, the world is witnessing this kinds of fact. Another geopolitical shift after the most effective U.S. foreign aid program and the successful implementation of the Marshall Plan or the European Recovery Program, ERP, for the post-war reconstruction of Europe during the period 1948 to 1951. However, the third millennium witnesses the One Belt, One Road, or we call it BRI, Belt and Road Initiative. This integral to the China dream, which is inseparable as well from the world dream of China, also, Chinese dream. BRI will be explained in the first part of this paper by my teammate, Farrell, and then I'll explain, the African and Pakistani cases, and also about the interpretation in the last part, is about the, integral ecology paradigm of Laudato Si, and the social friendship of Fatality, Tutti, FT, provide a constructive critique or maybe advice, to this, BRI initiative. Okay, well, I invite my teammate, Vero, Dr. Sarah Swati, to start off the first part.
Thank you, Professor Lee. Belt and Road Initiative, Itailu, was launched by China in 2013. According to Lau, Hink, Manley, Clover, and Norris, BRI is an international multiple initiatives working towards economic integrations and cultural inclusions, informed by the multilateral principles of openness, mutual trust, and tolerance in business initiatives, joint development and sharing of ideas to improve the connectivity between China and partner countries, encompassing the overland and maritime routes, reminiscence of the ancient Silk Road. Itailu has connected China with Europe, Africa, Latin America, and ASEAN in the physical, digital, financial, and social aspects by developing infrastructures, transportations, and economic corridors. In fact, China has developed an economic partnerships with 64 countries along the Silk Roads. By the end of January 2020, China has signed 200 bilateral agreements for joint actualizations of BRI with 138 countries and 30 international organizations. Itailu, the interrelated dreams and visions to building a community of shared future for humankind, 人类命运共同体, which is an important goal of the China dream that envisaged China's contributions to the whole world. China's contributions aims to solve the crisis of the world. According to Romer, rightly explains, these dreams are based on the Confucianist wisdom that enunciates that our world is the only common place for the human being. 天下为公，世界大同. Considering the fact that humankind inhabits a common world which thus binds us together with a shared future. Jiang and Guo opined that with China's BRI direct investment, the BRI countries' economy will enter the ranks of upper middle income countries, and their correspondingly industrial-based infrastructures and labor quality will increase, thus stimulating its economic growth further through the spirit of win-win cooperations, 合作共赢, and thus achieve prosperity together. ASEAN is China's largest trading partner through the free trade area process in 2002. The bilateral trade volume has increased from $54.8 billion in 2002 to $641.5 billion in 2019. ASEAN also has become China's second largest trading partner with a two-way investment of $15.8 billion in 2018. The cumulative total reached to $205.7 billion according to Ministry of Commerce, People's Republics of China. The exchange of visits between the two sides increased from 3.87 million in 2003 to nearly 57 million in 2018. As of October 2019, there are nearly 4,000 flights between China and ASEAN countries every week, and two sides have exchanged 200,000 overseas students, including me. This exchange helps to foster the much anticipated intercultural and interreligious. Thank you, Professor Lee.
Oh, thank you so much, Professor Saraswati. I'm going to explain the examples related to BRI. The first case is about China-Africa collaboration. Now, there are at least 10 prominent projects that can build the economic development between these, two countries. Well, mainly it's about, Africa. Well, it is more related to the infrastructure of the country and boost the quality of life, ecological environment, and sustainability of the society in Africa. According to Lao 2020, namely, the following 5, projects are more related to the above objectives: China-Africa Agricultural Modernization Collaboration Project, and China-Africa Infrastructure Collaboration Project, and China-Africa Green Development Collaboration Project, and China-Africa Collaboration for Reducing Poverty Project, China-Africa Public Health Collaboration Projects as well. The next one. Apart from this collaboration, another, very, very outstanding example is about the China-Pakistan Collaboration. Now, I think you might notice that Pakistan is one of the greatest, partners of China to build this collaboration projects. Now, being the greatest, trading partner of Pakistan, China has already invested a big lump sum, $25 billion by 2017. One of the projects is more related to, there's 3 aspects. One of them is about, to protect the energy, to save up the energy, and to protect the power, okay, and also about a natural gas supply, well, to make sure that there will be stable supply of gas. According to a Pakistan-based academic study conducted by a group of, scholars, Manhas is one of them. They have studied 500 participants based on their perception about this China-Pakistan economic corridor. We also call it, CPEC. Can this project enhance the sustainability and socio-economic status of Pakistan? And the result is this 500 people questionnaire found that it is very positive. Very positive, and this CPEC actually have enhanced the sustainability of Pakistan in various ways. For example, enhancing the quality of life, ensuring the stable electricity supply, and also improving the health and education condition of Pakistani. And also there are other very noticeable achievement. For the CPEC, it also built this kind of 2,000 kilometer transport network, which is, very historic. And the crude oil imported from West Asia was shortened by 85%. You think about, the time. I'll save the, for this kind of economic improvement, right? Okay, and that's pretty much regarding my part. And the next part, I would like to invite Father Jojo to explain to us what's the implication according to LS and also FT. May I have Father Jojo?
Yeah, thank you so much to Dr. Bernard Lee and Dr. Sarawasti, both of my colleagues in this paper. I think what is very opportune for us in this paper is to be able to look at what is DRI in the light of what we call the new paradigm introduced in Laudato Si, which is integral ecology. At the same time, also from using the lens of social friendship as introduced by Pope Francis in the document, Fatality. Now, one of the things that Laudato Si criticized, and this is no exception to DRI, is that it is driven by what we call the technocratic paradigm. And this is really importing it from global neoliberalist economic model. You look at the numbers, 51 and 56, that has facilitated the meteoric rise of China in the last 4 decades. We do not doubt that, this is really modern socialism in China, where capitalism has been written in Chinese characters, or we call it Sinicization of capitalism, so that it fits into what we call the socialist modernization of China. Innovation through science and technology as the integrative epistemological technocratic paradigm of China's 14 five-year plan, according to Xinhua Net 2020, is disputed by Pope Francis in Laudato Si. This paradigm is lamentably motivated by what he called an undifferentiated and one-dimensional paradigm, total reliance on science and technology. That's what he meant, which in itself is already a technique of possession, mastery, and transformation. Look at the transformation in China, economically, technologically, digitally, so on and so forth, that aims in the final analysis neither for profit nor for the well-being of the human race, but ultimately at power as its motive, a lordship over all. In other words, this is a paradigm used by global capitalism for subduing as it were the resources of this earth, if not exercising hegemony. Now we look at Fatality, also question this paradigm as it ends, quote, at the amazing of wealth by a few. This is a critic leveled against the technocratic paradigm of global capitalism to ensure that human rights, personal, social, economic, political, including the rights of nations and of peoples, be fully recognized. So it's not about a few, it's about the masses, it's about the populace, it's about the people, 大众, 老百姓. And then Fatality number 16 question this model as it reproduces itself by resorting to the magic theories of spillover or trickle down as the only solution to society problem. This is questioned by Pope Francis, with little appreciation of the fact that the alleged spillover or trickle down does not resolve the inequality that give rise to new norms of violence threatening the fabric of society. I pray that this will never happen in China. Moreover, in addition to recovering a sound political life that is not subject to the dictates of finance, the market must not dictate. No? So politics, philosophy, history, and economics, finance must go together, must be integrated, not one over the rest. There's a need to reinstate human dignity back at the center and on that pillar, build the alternative social structures of a modern socialist China. In other words, human dignity must be the priority in this integral ecology. Again, in Fatality, number 116, social capitalism in China needs to ensure that the lives of all are prior to the appropriation of goods by a few. In other words, the few must not dominate over the masses. No? It also means combating the structural causes of poverty, inequality, the lack of work, land and housing, the denial of social and labor rights. It means confronting the destructive effects of the empire of money. This is really, really very important. While materialism thrives under socialist capitalism, well, we must ensure that the rights of people, especially 老百姓, 大众, must be respected. FT 100. Though China has practiced the spirit of neighborliness of the Good Samaritan with nations of the global south, China needs to overcome growing grass individualism within China, and countries China collaborate with to ensure that the wealthy elites embrace the bruised and abandoned person on the roadside, whom he did not regard as a distraction and interruption from all that, or as someone hardly important, a nobody, undistinguished, irrelevant to their plans for the future. Commentators who visited China said there is no homeless in the cities of China. I believe that. And that the same capacity, the same leadership must ensure that through the Belt and Road Initiative, that the people also benefit together. 共同繁荣, I think that's very important. No? China is the world's top greenhouse gas emission. We don't doubt that. It's not absorbed from what Patrick Bartholomew called ecological sins. Ecological sins is not unique to China. It's the whole human race that commits this ecology for as long as we resort to exploitation of the non-renewable resources of the earth. We are culpable, no? That degrade the integrity of the earth by causing changes in its climate, by stripping the earth of its natural forests or destroying its wetlands. For human beings to contaminate the earth's waters, its land, its air, and its life, that is to commit a crime against the natural world. It is also a sin against ourselves and a sin against God. So in this Ignatian year that the Jesuits are celebrating, I think it's important to pay attention to this, no? That we all commit these ecological sins for as long as we continue to resort to coal power. Of course, China has done a lot in terms of the transition from coal power to what we call green power in terms of solar, in terms of wind, in terms of hydro energy, and also converting, as it were, desert land into agricultural land, and then canalizing water from the south to the north, no? In order to make the land arable. Such anthropocentric actions have driven our planet Earth to a breaking point, according to Pope Francis number 61, Laudato Si, and which Pope Francis re-echoed. We are at the edge, and then he underlined the need to care for nature so that nature may care for us. I think this is very important for all nations on this earth. No? China needs an experience, a conversion or change of heart. I think this is, no nation is exempted from this. No? If we are talking about the Ignatian year, the transformation of persons need to take place. It is not just individual, but it's also community, at the same time national, to reflect Confucianist eco-ethics of inclusive harmony of heaven, earth, and humans. I think Confucianism, in terms of ethics, believe in this harmonious order, and therefore transformation of heart, transformation of society and structures need to happen so that there is a real conversion at the level of individual, structures, and nations, no? In terms of policies as well. This peaceful order enables people through effective pedagogy to grow in transcendence, solidarity, responsibility, compassionate care of the poor and creation, in Laudato Si 210. Actually, Professor Sarawati made a remark saying that the UN policy, Laudato Si, and even COP26 has a philosophy of solidarity of the human race, that we are dwelling on this one planet as the common ground and philosophy. So therefore, the citizens must grow in a relationship existing between nature and society. The reason is obvious. Nature cannot be regarded as something separate from ourselves. We are part of nature. Nature is a part of us. So that is highlighted by Pope Francis in number 139 in Laudato Si. Let me continue. Now this is, I think, very important. China's common property drive, this is happening as we speak in China, no? Needs to delink from what Sorondo, Marcelo, and Ramanathan in 2016 said so, deemed as what we call the coupling of economic activities and wealth inequalities. So there's economic drive, but there's at the same time the disparity in terms of wealth. At the same time, there's environmental pollution and climate change. And this promotes what we call a symmetrical or unequal new international relation that recognize material natural beings as the ecological debt that the wealthy developed nations or the growing economies of the world owe to the global south. And that, I think China too needs to own up to this debt. And I think, one way of overcoming this ecological debt is precisely through the One Belt, One Road initiative. And also, as Dr. Sarawasti informed me, there's what we call the Silk Health Road, 丝绸健康路. That is also very important. And that's one way I think we overcome this ecological debt that the growing economies owe to the vulnerable nations, a term used in COP26. I believe, and we, the three scholars on this paper, believe that China can act as a counter-hegemonic force to resist the hegemonic lordship of global capitalism and reverse the ironclad of a tyrannical and excessive anthropocentrism. This making humans the apex so that all the resources serve our overconsumption, I think is not on anymore. So it spawns relativism. That means all things are they don't have inherent value in relation to humans. There's over consumerism. There's this throwaway culture, too much of waste in terms of food, goods and services. No? The wanton destruction of the earth, global warming and climate change, the destruction, the desertification of soil and extinction of species. So these are happening as we speak, and it's happening in all countries. And China, US, EU are no exception to this. And China, I think, is poised to promote an integral sustainable development that is more attentive to ethical principles. This is one nation that I keep hearing, we abide by the UN criteria, UN standard, not by the standard of the US, of United Nations and related global institutions. So there are other global institutions that I think China is willing to abide by. Pope Francis enumerated a few principles. What are they? More balanced levels of production, a better distribution of wealth, concern for the environment, the rights of future generations. These are very, very important ethical principles for any nation after COP26 to really abide by. And also promoting an economy that favors productive diversity and business creativity. I think this has been emphasized too in China. And of course, protection of the global commons like clean air, climate, water, in the campaign against world hunger and poverty. And then China is supposed to promote international multiculturalism. I personally like this, multiculturalism, not US culturalism or EU culturalism, it's international. It's a multicultural solidarity, together as humankind on this one planet Earth, based on solidity. Solidity, what does that mean? In Fatality, it says, expresses attachment to the good, the pursuit of the good, not my good, the good of humankind, the good of the vulnerable nations, a striving for excellence and what is best for others, not just for myself, for my nation, no, for others, the vulnerable nation, the whole humankind. Their growth in maturity and health, the cultivation of values are not simply material well-being. The term we use is flourishing, human flourishing, the flourishing of the earth as well. Number two, it must be characterized by benevolence. It means it wills the good of others, a yearning for goodness, and inclination towards all that is fine and excellent, a desire to fill the lives of others with what is beautiful, sublime, and edifying. After Laudato Si is not talking about just the vulnerable humans, we must be talking about the violated, the suffering, the wounded earth as well. That is also a good of all humankind, of all nations. Fatality last, one want to ensure that the right of some to free enterprise or market freedom cannot, must not supersede the rights of people and the dignity of the poor, or for that matter, respect for the natural environment. For it makes something our own, it is only to administer it for the good of all. That, topping, that, reduction of poverty in China, I think has these principles in mind. If not, it is at least putting into practice, that the market freedom must not supersede the rights of the poor. And therefore topping, that means poverty reduction is a very important effort to really fulfill the spirit of Fatality number 112. So with that, we thank you for your kind attention. Thank you so much. Over to you, Dr. Lee.
Thank you very much, our Father Jojo Fang and our excellent speakers, Dr. Veronica Saraswati and Dr. Bernard Lee. I would just make a methodological remark. If for everybody who would like to ask a question, either you go below, you have the chat room, Liao Tian in Chinese, at the bottom, where you can post a question, or you unmute yourself, and it's Dr. Bernard Lee who will then coordinate the question and answer session. So over to you, Bernard. Thank you really very much for your inspiring inputs.
Thank you. Thank you so much, for Father Roland, and thank you so much for Father Jojo and also Professor Saraswati. So we are here and we try to answer your question.
I would like to thank our speakers. They were very, they were very insightful in all of their about the Belt Road Initiative. I just have one question because I'm also working on my PhD right now on the South China Sea, and I'm asking this question based on the perspective of a rising power. We all know that the United States before, when it was ascending to its peak and it's overtaking the past superpowers like Spain and the United Kingdom, they have engaged into certain steps or initiatives that are less palatable. There's what you call the Monroe Doctrine, wherein they really did some things with their neighbors in Latin America, because they are essentially a rising power and they're acting as such. My question is there room? China is in a very delicate situation right now. They are rightfully to be the next superpower. They're poised to be that, but right now they're being constricted by the world, in terms of the greenhouse gases, because they're growing, they're relying so much on coal, and now they're being prevented to because it's the pollutions that they're contributing. They're expanding in the South China Sea, and well, there's a lot of sentiments against their expansion, but from my perspective, it is what the rising superpower is supposed to do, and it's already a given. So my question is there could it be reconciled? Is there any reconciliation between a superpower who is rising and trying to go beyond all of these challenges that they're being presented to them by the international community, by the current superpowers, vis-a-vis a benevolent leadership wherein they will be really seen as a global, an inspirational global leader, which is really of multiculturalism, of equality, because right now, we all know what's going on in India with their border disputes, in the South China Sea. So I don't know if anyone can answer that. It would be greatly appreciated. Thank you very much.
Oh, thank you. Thank you for your well-framed, question, yeah, BQ. Oh, by the way, BQ, where are you from? I'm talking about, your organization. Sorry, I can't hear you very clearly at the very beginning.
There you go. Yes, I'm from the Philippines. I actually did my. I'm working on my PhD there in the University of St. Joseph, and it's more of international relations and regional security.
Okay, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Yeah, maybe, I try to answer and then, my teammate will supplement. How about this? Yep, I think regarding that term that you phrased, superpower, I don't think that, China would like to, position it like that, in my view. This kind of, superpower is always, used by the counterpart. I'm talking about, the US is, the most well-off country in the world. Yeah, but China, as Father Jojo, described it before. They adopt this kind of multiculturalism, like a lot of this kind of countries. Yeah, this is more traditional. So to start off, I understand there are different discourses, different ideologies in the world, but well, I haven't done a lot of this kind of extensive research in this area. However, I understand regarding China's culture is very, very complex, and well, it's just like other countries. There's no one prototype that can change the current situation. The only thing that we can do is to maintain the dialogue, and China has opened its door to maintain this dialogue in order to find the agreement so that we can seek the common good. As mentioned by Father Jojo again, yep, it's always good, for others, okay, and also, good for the humanity, not just about for the good of your country, for one country, the best, for one country. That's not about, Chinese mentality. It's about, well, looking for this kind of FT, Fatality, it's about the brotherhood. Okay, hopefully it will be good, for other human beings. Yeah, everyone can thrive. Okay. That I would like to, answer. May Father Jojo and Professor Saraswati, yeah, do you want to supplement?
May I answer,
Yeah,
Professor?
Go ahead. Go ahead.
Yeah, for the South China conflicts, according to my perspective, basically the most important, the problem is already exists, but what is the aspect that make it more complex? It's just interventions by US and other Western countries. Let's say no one single countries, even in in ASEAN, free from the interventions from the US and other Western US and its allies. Even let's say Indonesia, we don't have free and active foreign policy. Yeah, I think the same with some others country in ASEAN countries. That's why, according to my perspective, the most important, the most properly methods to solve the problems in South China Sea is just let the ASEAN themselves solve the conflict. It should be free from any interventions from other Western country or US, especially US and its allies. Because if ASEAN country, Southeast Asian and ASEAN country, we have basically our own methods. We have similarity in terms of culture, in terms of habit in solve the problems. We will emphasize on dialogue, then through the coercive measures. But the problems, it's much more complex because of the interventions from the US. Let's say Philippines, Indonesia, and other Malaysia also, we are not free from this intervention. And foreign policy is just extensions from the domestic politics. And our domestic politics is influenced strongly by the Western and US and its allies. That's my answer, Professor Lee.
Thank you so much. Yeah, this is very thorough. Thanks a lot, Professor Saraswati. And Father Jojo, do you want to, supplement?
Yes, I've heard this this problem that arises due to the South China Sea mentioned by Mr. BQ. No? So thank you for asking this question. Let me first begin by repeating what Professor Kishore Mubani, who is with the Lee Kuan Yew School of Governance in Singapore University, has to say. No? He said that, smaller nations will have to learn how to adjust to bigger nations. In this case, the ASEAN nation have always adjusted to the US, adjusted to Japan. And of course, now it is adjusting to China. What makes the relationship very complex is that I think the US and the EU, the UK must respect the sovereignty of the ASEAN nations. We are a sovereign bloc called ASEAN, no? And therefore, we are the largest trading partner. We, when I say we, because I'm Malaysian, you are Filipino, Sarawasti is Indonesian, no? We in the ASEAN nations, we have a forum rightly called ASEAN, no? And then we have entered into what we call the RCEP, no? The regional cooperation, economic partnership, no? And therefore we do have a trading relationship with China, and therefore we are best poised as ASEAN to really talk with China over this problem. No? So I rather that the other powers do not intervene, respect our sovereignty in terms of ASEAN. Let us take up our own problem and talk to China about it. We can, we're able, and therefore we can do and solve our own problems. Thank you, BQ.
Thank you, BQ. Thank you, Father Jojo. Yep, I think it's more comprehensive in that way. Okay, and we also have another question from Jimmy Sham. You said the green finance. Yeah.
Right. Thank you. Recently we came across some carbon emission reduction capital fund, and they are talking about this green finance topic in Eco Expo. And there is the traditional definition of green finance and the EU's green finance, and also the modern definition of sustainable finance. So I would like to ask is, when combining the finance and business and the government, we are trying to achieve the carbon emission reduction and have a sustainable model. And may I know in your presentation today, how do you define this green finance?
Oh, thank you, Jimmy, for your question. May I take your question first? Yep. There might be a lot of new standards or criteria in the world, platform. As Father Jojo, you mentioned, well, we always need to have this kind of dialogue, among different countries. And so, maybe, for United Nations, that they will raise the question and then negotiate, among different nations. And I also, on top of that, I would like to elaborate what have, China done, okay, rather than talk about this kind of, about the standard over there. They have done, okay, in the past, to, enhance other people's green environment. That's what the third project that I mentioned, the China-Africa Green Development Collaboration Project. For that project, they have, they have started 100 wildlife protection and green energy projects, eco-friendly agricultural projects, and also clever city development projects in Africa. They also have invested a lot of resources for the long-term benefits of the natural environment in Africa. Whereas for other countries, what have they done? Okay, you might ask, well, as a matter of fact, people know how to, pinpoint on other people saying that, yeah, you have to do that, you have to do that. And then have they done anything, okay, for the good of human being, for the common good? Okay, well, what you mentioned, all these, are good, things, but we need to take action. Okay, I don't know, yeah, well, regarding this kind of criteria, what's the definition of that? I have, sorry about that, I don't have extensive research in this area. I can't answer your question, but I have, what I've noticed is, for this kind of BRI, yeah, collaboration, they have done, good job, okay? And well done, to China, and that's my answer. And for my, partners, yeah, do you have any, any things to add on? Father Jojo and Professor, yeah, Saraswati.
In terms of the green finance, I mean, I used to be very skeptical for reasons that it has been co-opted, into global capitalism and said that, oh yeah, we are doing green finance this, green finance that. But the greenhouse emission never stopped. It continues. So much so that today at COP26 in Glasgow, the UN Executive Secretary Patricia Espinova said, at the rate we are going, our temperature will rise beyond 1.5 degrees centigrade to 2.4 degrees centigrade. The question we need to ask is, what are nations doing about it to green the economy? For me, I just want to cite this example. At least at the United Nations General Assembly on 21st of September 2021, China announced that in spending 50 billion for coal projects in 20 countries overseas, China will stop funding coal projects abroad. At the same time, at this Glasgow event, China pledged that it will target a 1.8% cut of its average coal use at power plants by 2025, and therefore joining over 190 countries and organizations that have pledged to quit using coal in the next 20 years. This is green finance. Concrete actions abroad through the BRI and concrete actions at home. It's not easy. It's not easy to transition from coal power to green finance, green economy, and green policies. I don't think it's easy. It is even harder, as it were, in terms of what we call vulnerable, low and middle income countries. So the word used is not just green finance, it's called climate financing. Climate financing, which in the COP21 in Paris, Obama promised that the developed nations will generate 100 billion a year to cover what we call the climate financing for mitigation and adaptation to green economy or green development, even covering what we call loss and damages of properties, lives, livestock, and then in terms of denudation of the Earth's surface and the glacial surface. So Jimmy, that's all I have in terms of responding to your green finance. Thank you for asking that question, Jimmy. Thank you.
Thank you, Father Jojo.
No, a very, really warm thank you for the excellent presentation. And as I said, for us, it's really a long-term project where I'm glad that we are on the same road. And I would also like to mention the fact that we have been working hard to respond to this call of Pope Francis to change the economic paradigm, what the speakers very much advocated, and also sometimes the gap between our promises and that what we deliver. And you can see on the website of the Macau Rich Institute, our Macau Manifesto, which now is translated into 5 languages, Chinese, English, Italian, Spanish, and German. And we work on Japanese, Korean, which is a kind of a reference how to bring about this change of the economic paradigm. So, and what I would also like to appreciate with all the speakers is this hope in the role of China. What I feel sometimes it's biased, a certain only one-sided negative view on China. So I did very much appreciate that you have articulated a hope of the role in China. And you are all not naive. We are, I think, very well aware about the problems, but I think that's very much in the line of this charism of the Rich Institute, and also actually what also I think Pope Francis needs our support, as the negative view on China sometimes seems to be dominating. See. So thank you very, very much to Dr. Saraswati. Again, it's the first time, the chance. So thank you very much. And Dr. Bernard Lee for the Zhuzhou Feng. It's a wonderful kind of other milestone on our common journey. And so, and also thank for the excellent questions. And let's continue to work on this long-term project. Thank you very much.